All right, guys, I'll quickly share my screen and let's get started. In today's session, we are going to focus on how on Asanify you can easily configure your leave policies. And many a times, a lot of customers are looking to have different types of leaves. Sometimes it may be compensatory off that you have to give to people. Sometimes you may create the standard ones like casual and sick leave. I'm sure all of you have gone through that in your respective workplaces already. Many of you would be using these features on Asanify as well. We'll spend about 15 minutes and then we'll open the floor for any question answers that may be there. I hope you all can see my screen. I will just go ahead and start with the leave policies. So this is the admin profile, as you can see. If I go to the leave section, one of the first things to do is configure your leave policies. When you start your account on Asanify, you'll see some default policies are already created. You can either use those or tweak those or create a new policy from scratch. So for the purpose of understanding right now, what I'll do is I'll create a new policy from scratch. Let's say I want to create a new policy called family emergency leave, let's say hypothetically. I can just give the name. This is the name that will be visible to the employees in their leave apply section when they apply for the leave. I can describe what this policy may be all about. Now here under this tab, you can classify this particular leave under any of the sections, whether it's a sick leave, privilege leave, earned leave, etc., etc. Now the important ones here is unlimited leave policy. Many young startups now follow a culture where you don't want to restrict the number of leaves and you can allow as many leaves to be taken. However, having said that, you still want to track which person is taking a leave when and having that on record. So we can create those unlimited leave policies where if somebody is not in office, it gets recorded on system, but there's no upper limit on how many you can take. Then there is something called leave without pay category. In this, what happens is, again, let's say if I've exhausted my casual leave and sick leave, you want and the person has to go on leave, they can still mark leave without pay, which will be an unlimited number of leave available with them. But it is, while it gets recorded on system for the management to know that this person is not there, but there is no salary that gets paid for those days, right? And then there is compensatory off, which we'll talk about, where you can assign the compensatory leave off policy for people who may be working on a holiday or on a Saturday, Sunday, and in return asking for a compensatory off. So let's say for the time being, I will create this as a standard casual leave. I can define when the policy is effective from, whether it's encashable, yes, or you'll have to define what the rule for this policy is. So let's say I want to give, let's say 24 leaves in the year. So I'll say that it is a fixed accrual rule. I can define what is the accrual period. Is it that it's given out every year at the beginning or the end of the year? Or is it given throughout every period, monthly, quarterly, 6 monthly, whichever way it might be? Or if it's an unlimited leave, it's an unlimited leave anyways. So let's say I want to give throughout every period, where total per year I'm giving, let's say 24 leaves. And the balance, that is 24 by 12, will be divided if I'm calling it a monthly leave. I can also call it, let's say, once every 2 months or quarterly or half yearly, whichever way I want these leaves to be accrued to the person's account, right? Yeah. I can also define whether it gets accrued at the beginning of the period or at the end of the period. So let's say if 24 leaves are given out every year and 2 are given monthly, then on the first of every month, those 2 leaves will go and sit in the employee's account. Yeah. You can also then define whether you want the waiting period to be there before these leaves start accruing, yes or no. Now, this is the case where your employees may be sometimes on probation and they get confirmed after 3 months, and only after 90 days get over that does the leave counter start working. So you can define that as well. Yeah. The next 2 questions are about what happens at the maximum limit. So at the end of the year, do you want all your leaves to be carried forward? Or you will say that out of 24 that I have given, even if you have not used it, only 10 will carry forward. So if you have not used any of your leaves, 14 leaves will get lapsed at the end of the year. Yeah. And then I can define what can be the maximum balance that the customer, that the employee can get in his account at any point in time. So let's say if there are 24 leaves in all and only 10 are getting carried forward, then let's say 10 from this year, 10 from next year, 10 from the year after that. At the max, I can put a cap that let's say at the max, you can have only 30 leaves. Even if you don't take it and it keeps getting accrued, it will get capped there. Yeah. And then we can define whether it is on a pro rata basis or not. So if somebody joins in the middle of the month or middle of the year, how it will be taken into account, yes or no. Mostly the default setting is that
22nd.
Yeah.
Already invoice raise agide on the 6th November.
Yeah, I request you to put yourself on mute. We'll open the floor for question answers towards the end. In the interim, I'd request you all to just put yourself on mute. Yeah. There is one more combination that's possible here, that instead of having a fixed set of rules that we saw just now, I can also define that depending upon the number of days that the employee has worked, the leaves are given out. So I can say that, and this is a classic case that we see in many of the setups where, let's say in a restaurant where people are supposed to work for 6 days and then they get a weekly off. If they don't work for 6 days, they don't get the weekly off. So here you can define that if you work for X number of days, one leave will be earned for every 7 days of present, or if it's a paid leave for you. Or I can say that it will only take into account present days, not the paid leaves. So these combinations can be possible while defining the policy at the time of setup. You can do that. Yeah. And similarly, whether for the entitlement of this leave, do you want the employee to work for a minimum number of days in a year? So only when they work for a minimum number of days in the year will they get this kind of leave. Yeah. So this becomes fairly self-explanatory. So let me just go back to my example of fixed leave, what we had defined. And as I go forward, I can then just define the constraints that might be there. Do you want the employee to give an advance notice before they apply for leave? Now, right now we are creating a family emergency kind of a leave category. So emergency can happen anytime. So I don't want employees to give any notice. They can apply even in the morning that I'm not coming today. But had it been, let's say, a earned leave, which people may be taking 2 or 3 leaves together, then I can say that, yes, I want them to give me an advance notice. So apply at least 3 days before. Will this 3 days rule be applicable for all kinds of leaves? Or I can define that only if somebody is taking more than 3 days, do you apply 3 days before? Otherwise, you can just apply on the same day. Yeah, these are all the combinations that are possible in the system. It's not necessary that you impose all these constraints on the employees. In the new age of work, normally people take exceptions a lot. So I would recommend not to put these hard constraints. But if you have to, you can always do that in the system. So for now, I'll just say that there's no limit, there's no notice to be given from the employees while they are applying for this particular leave category. Then I can define whether holidays are excluded or weekends are excluded or not. This is the sandwich leave policy, where if Saturday, Sundays are off, and if somebody is taking Friday and Monday off, will Saturday, Sunday count as a leave or not? So by default, it is yes, the holidays and the weekends are excluded. But if you want a sandwich leave policy, where if somebody takes Friday and Monday off, then it is not 2 leaves, it becomes 4 leaves for them. So then you can add that here, weekend and holidays will be included. Then you can define whether half day, quarter day can be applied or not. Now there is one question which says, is negative balance allowed or not? You can define for certain type of leave categories that negative balance may be allowed, because people, somebody who's a new joinee and he doesn't have enough leaves in the kitty, they can simply take more leaves and over the next 3 or 4 months accrue enough to become 0. Or if they don't do that, you can always adjust that in the payroll at the end of it. Then for every leave type, you can define that whether it can be combined with any other leave type or not. So you can say that if somebody is taking an emergency leave, it should not be combined with, let's say, a casual leave. Yeah. And once I have done these definitions, in the summary, I will see the entire setup and I can simply create this policy. Yeah. Once I have created this policy, the system will also ask me which all employees this policy is relevant for. So I can either choose all or one by one or by department. Let's say all my marketing guys are available for this particular type of leave, and I can simply do the assignment. the system will automatically see when the policy is effective from the 1st of January when the policy started, or from the hiring date for somebody who might have joined in the middle of the year. And then you can simply assign this policy, and now my setup is done. Yeah. Now let's just finish this flow that when the employee logs into this particular, when they apply the leave, what will they see? So let's say, since I'm the admin in this particular login ID, I can do it for any employee also. Employees will be able to do it only for themselves. So let's say if Sophia logs into this account, you'll be able to see, she'll be able to see which all leave categories are available for her, first of all. So let's say if I had created a emergency leave, I think it was this one, or maybe I had not assigned it to her, she'll be able to see the leave here. There are two things that she'll be able to see: what is the current balance and what is the currently available balance. The difference between these two is some of the leaves may be in process for approval. It has not been approved yet. So if the current balance is 1 and currently available is 0, that means one of our emergency leaves is still awaiting approval. Yeah. Employees can simply click on this, select the date for which they're choosing not to work, give the reason, and then record the leave, at which point it goes to the manager for approval. Right now, since I am the admin, any leave that I am applying on behalf of the employee will get approved automatically. Once this is done, you will see this organization level calendar that gets populated, which helps you know who is on leave at what time. So let's say for Sophia, if I had applied for a leave just now, it will get populated in the calendar that which employee is not here right now, on which particular day. Yeah, that helps you from a scheduling perspective quite easily. Now, before we jump to how the leave balances, etc., can be seen, I will just go back and I will look at the compensatory off policy also. So let's say these are the policies that have already been defined. If I have a change in rule, I can view or edit the leave policy at any point in time. Whatever I had created, I can edit it if I have to. I can also mark certain leaves as default leaves. So this star mark makes it a default leave. So every new employee that comes into your company will automatically have this particular type of leave assigned to them. Or if I'm changing the policy, I can simply say that this leave category is no longer relevant. So it has now become inactive. So it will now be visible in the inactive category, not in the active category for you. Yeah. Similarly, you can define a comp off policy also, where over and above all the parameters that we saw just now, you can also define that compensatory off will be expired, let's say in 30 days or 45 days. So if somebody is taking a comp off, that must be used within the 30-day or 45-day period, otherwise it will get expired, right? The method for comp off is a little different. While all the other rules get accrued on as per whatever definition of that rule I have given out, comp off is supposed to be applied for. So when you define a comp off policy and you assign it to people, it's not that they'll start seeing the comp off in their kitty. It is just a leave which is available to them. If they have to apply for one, when they log in, they have to go to the comp off category, which is here. Let's say again, Sophia wants to apply for a comp off. She will need to select which Sunday or which holiday she had worked on. So let's say she had worked on the 18th and she had actually clocked in at 9 in the morning and she had clocked out at whatever 7 in the evening. And while this was a holiday, but she had worked because client ABC had an emergency. So now at this point, she's applying for a comp off. Since I'm the admin, it will automatically get added to her kitty. But when an employee does it, it goes to the manager for approval. Once the manager approves it, only then it starts reflecting in the kitty. Yeah. And if you want to, the flexibility that Asanify will offer you is at any point in time, if you want to see the leave balances, you can load the leave balance for any of the employees and you can see what is the current balance, available balance, see the detailed calculation of how it was arrived at. So what was the opening balance in the year? How many got accrued in the X number of months of this year that have already passed? How many leaves have been approved for the person? And hence, what is the closing balance? Let's say hypothetically, I have to edit the balance because I'm changing the policy. The system also allows you to change it. Let's say Sophia's privilege leave right now is 6.33. I will say that, the current balance now is, let's say 4 for whatever reason, because I'm changing the accrual rule. I can simply update the balance And from that point onwards, the rule that has been defined takes over. So the system allows you to change these balances at any point in time that you may feel the need to do that. Yeah. In order to have your leave management work efficiently, you must also update your company level holidays, where state by state you can define, let's say employees in Karnataka or Bangalore may have a certain leave type, or somebody in Maharashtra or Bombay may have certain leave types. This will tell the system that in your sandwich policy, which are the days which are company holidays, not to count for that. Or if somebody is not present on these company level holidays, they don't have to take a leave or mark their attendance. So in a nutshell, these configurations might take you about 5 or 10 minutes to configure, but it might make you think a little hard about how you want your company policies to be. In many of the new age companies, we are not very stringent about how these policies are designed, but the questions while designing the policy will make you think a little hard about how you want it to be before you take it to your employees. Yeah. I'll open the floor for questions right now. If you have any questions, Vinod, Nitesh, anyone else you might want to ask.
Yeah, Gaurav, Nitesh here.
Yeah, Nitesh, please tell me.
You said like once the employee fill the form regarding the comp off regarding the day he worked or she worked, okay, and post that go to the manager for approval. So
Right.
once the manager approved that thing, okay, that
Right.
will not be seen in the leaves kitty, right?
It will start reflecting in the leaves kitty. That's correct.
And post that, that employee need to apply
Absolutely.
what works, like
Absolutely right. So let's say I will just go to the same Sophia example once again. Let's say Sophia had applied for a comp off, and like any other leave, even the compensatory off will start reflecting here. So let's say she had worked on that Sunday and now she wants to apply for this comp off which had taken. It might be that my rule is that my comp off will expire in 30 days if you don't take it. So now she wants to take this particular Thursday off, and she has applied for a comp off, and it will get recorded. So the moment the manager approves it, it starts behaving like any other leave category. Yeah.
Got it.
So the tricky part in any of these leave policies is putting your head down and just thinking through while you are defining those parameters, what should be the maximum balance, what should be the carry forward days. Because once you've defined it, then the system will take over and it does all the calculations automatically. For your employees, it is very simple because they will see the current balance and available balance to them at any point in time. You might want to think how your policy will be. Now, another unique example could be that I will assign a weekly leave policy. I will have, let's say, all 7 days working defined on the system, but I'll have a rule that 52 leaves are given out in a year every week. And the maximum balance is, let's say, just 1 day. So every week you get 1 leave, which you can take on any day of the week. And then next week you start from 0 again. So those are the complexities that can be handled quite easily, which you may face in some parts of in some divisions of your business. Yeah. Any question? Vinod, how are you handling your leave policies right now?
Yeah, I've already configured. Only we have one casual, compensatory, and leave without pay.
Right. Right. So it is fairly explanatory. We keep, obviously, we'll keep having these sessions where we keep picking up these modules and going into the details. Needless to say, through our chat support or through our personal support, the team is always available in case you have any doubts about how these leave policies work. Make this discipline a regular thing for the employees, because from a scheduling perspective, it will help you know who is in and who's not in at any point in time. Yeah. So if there are no more questions, we'll close the session.
Gaurav, I have one question.
Yes, Nitesh, please tell me.
Normally, what we have observed here, once the employee joins, suppose the employee joins on 4th of September, right?
Right.
So his leave balance, whatever we have as the policy, suppose that we have 22 leaves in a year, right?
Right.
So 1.83 leaves get credited to his account, right?
Right.
Yeah. So what in case, like suppose the person joined on 4th of September, and a person joined on 16th of September.
Right.
So both are eligible for the same leave balance?
So this is where pro rata comes in. If I define the leave policy which has a pro rata element, then let's say
Okay.
if I have 2 leaves which are going out every month, 24 leaves in a year. So technically,
Yes.
if somebody is joining on the 4th, he should get 4 divided by 30 multiplied by 2. Whatever is that decimal, he should get that many leaves. But for the sake of simplifying it a little and making it not like a 0.01 leave or a 0.99 kind of a leave balance, we have rounded it on the system to make it that if somebody is joining before the 15th, make it like a full month, or if somebody is joining after 15th, make it like half a month of leave. So if 2 leaves are given out, it becomes 1 leave in that case.
Correct.
Having said that, you might have defined the policy that 18 leaves are given in a month, in a year. That means 1.5 leaves are given out every month. If 1.5 leaves are given out every month and somebody has joined after 15, they'll get 0.75. So for the purpose of simplicity, we have followed a rounding off logic, which is the broad accepted way of running it. There might be a difference of 0.3, 0.4 up or down either ways, but in the larger scheme of things, it will net off each other. You don't have to worry about that.
So that is a system generated. We cannot make any changes on that. Like suppose you said like if the company is having 18 leaves and if person join after 16,
you can.
So that will be 0.75.
Yeah, system will calculate that any which ways. If let's say I have gotten a leave of 1.75 in my kitty, but you don't like that, or let's say 1.73, but you don't like the decimal number basis the system calculation, you can always edit the balance and make it rounded. And from that point onwards, the system will keep accruing the X number of leaves that you've defined in the month.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
and how about defining that? Suppose I don't want to give any leave person joining after 16.
You don't want to give any leave if somebody is joining after the 16th of the month.
Yeah.
You want only the person who's joined in the first 15 days to have the leave, which is there for the month, whatever is the calculation.
Yes.
Then you can define that waiting period logic, that if the person spent 14 days or more, because somebody who joined before 15th would have spent 14 days or more, will get the leave, or 15 days or more. So anyone
waiting period logic
after 16th will automatically not get it.
Got your point. Thanks.
But policies like these don't see whenever there is a system to be used, the system will allow you to do whatever you want to do in that sense. However, having said that, don't complicate matters so much, because keep the policy simple and assignment simple. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So what we'll do is we will share the recordings for this. But if there's any question, feel free to fill up the form or reach out to us, that you anyways do when you feel that. All right.
Sure, Gaurav.
Thank you so much, everyone, for taking time out. We will obviously keep having these sessions more often, and we'll start talking about each module one by one. So the agenda for the next week, we'll be sharing and reaching out to you like we do.
Great.
Thank you so much. Thanks, everyone, for participating. Thank you.
Thanks, Gaurav.
Thanks.
Bye.